Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you've joined me today, and this is going to be a very reflective video. It's going to be more conversational. We're going to look back at 2025 and talk about some of the things that I learned. Some things about myself, about my channel, about how to be creative in general, and what that looks like for me. So I hope you are excited about this like I am. And if you need to grab snacks or drinks, pause right here, grab those now, come back, and we're going to get started right now. And so one of the first lessons that I want to talk about is to try new things, whether they stick or not. And this was definitely a year of trying different things on my channel, seeing how they work. You know, I tried out different formats for my reading updates. I had been doing monthly updates for the longest time, and I switched to quarterly updates. And then for the last 3 months of 2025, I did weekly updates, and that went pretty well, but it still wasn't totally the direction I wanted to go. So, that was a learning experience. So that didn't quite stick, and I'm going to be doing new things in 2026. But I also tried some other new things. I tried Lit RPG for the very first time. I read Dungeon Crawler Carl, book 1 of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, and I really enjoyed it. I did it on audiobook, and I did it, and it was kind of a reread from my partner, but my partner and I listened to the audiobook together on a trip, and it was really enjoyable. I had a great time, and I plan to continue reading Dungeon Crawler Carl next year. And that was something new for me. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about Lit RPG, but I decided to give it a shot. She had really been loving the series, and she and I have similar tastes with a lot of things, especially with books and types of stories we enjoy. So I decided to give it a shot, and I loved it. And now I kind of get where all the hype is coming from. And I've heard some mixed things about the rest of the series, but I'm open-minded at this point. I also read Shogun at the beginning of this year, which was kind of a new adventure for me. I'm not really big on historical fiction. I've always said that, but I've modified that to say that I'm not big on some historical fiction, because Shogun was an absolute masterpiece for me. I loved every minute of it. I don't know why I'd waited so long. The hype, in my opinion, for that book is real. I don't know why I was so worried about it. But I was, because it was historical fiction, and it's just not really been my thing, not something I've been interested in. But Shogun really worked good for me. So I'm branching out, adapting, trying new things. Life is about change and embracing change, and so I embraced some change this year, and that was good. Another lesson, move on to lesson number 2 that I want to talk about, and that's to do what works best for you. I learned early on this year that I needed to make some changes. I didn't know what those were, but I needed to make some changes in several areas with my channel and how I go about things. And part of that's due to some personal discoveries that I'll talk about a little bit later in this video. Learning to be more flexible with myself, and ultimately this channel is a hobby for me, and being able to share my hobby with other people. And, I want to make content that people will enjoy. But ultimately, if I'm not enjoying it, nobody else is going to enjoy it either, right? So I kind of have to make it something I'm passionate about first. And so changes go along with that. And learning to do what works best for me. even as far as little things go. Like, I just recently started the audiobook for Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I was already almost halfway through the book, and I was really enjoying the book, but I kind of hit a stumbling point, and it was kind of becoming a little bit of a drudgery for me. So I found the audiobook through my library, and I switched to the audiobook. And I didn't start over. I just moved on from the chapter that I was about to start. And the audiobook worked a lot better for me. You know, it just, everything felt right. I was enjoying it. The narrator is Richard Armitage. He played Thorin Oakenshield in the Hobbit movies, and he voiced Trevor Belmont in Castlevania on Netflix and stuff. So, and I really like his narration. So, you know, even down to making little changes like that work better for me, so I can get through a book that I'm enjoying, but maybe not enjoying reading physically necessarily. So, you know, learning to put my needs first when it comes to being able to make the content. I discovered that way too many times this year. As you can tell with some of the changes in my reading updates that I made throughout the year, and not quite knowing exactly what direction to take that. And so, yeah, that has been a very interesting thing to adapt to for me. So that was a big lesson this year. And along with that goes another lesson, and that's to embrace possibilities versus plans. There's always the kind of unspoken expectation on BookTube to plan everything, to plan your month. You know, what are you going to read next month, and what do you want to read 2 or 3 months out, just to kind of plan your year and focus on all the things and have a whole lot of structure. And that just doesn't work for me. I am very much not a structured person. I am very much a kind of fly by the seat of my pants guy when it comes to certain things, especially stuff like this. And so I learned to embrace the MBR, right? And instead of the TBR. Like, I'm not even doing TBRs next year. I'm going to read what I want, when I want, and just enjoy the journey. You know, there's some possibilities that I want to get to, right? I did plan out books that I'm hoping to read in 2026. But all of it, in the end, is really possibilities and not necessarily plans. Because I am a mood reader, and I'm going to make changes to that over time. There's books I want to read that I may decide, oh, you know, I don't really want to read that right now, so I'm not going to, and I'm going to read something else. And the same is true for my writing, you know, possibilities versus plans. I can plan to write all I want, but if I'm not feeling it, if I'm not in the mood to write, I'm not going to force myself. Some people will, and some people will say that's bad advice. You should force yourself to write, stuff like that. I get that, and that works for some people. It does not work for me. If I feel like I have to do something, I'm not going to enjoy it. So embracing possibilities and moving away from having solid plans when it comes to what I'm going to read, things like that. Some things you can't control, right? I have my job. I have to work the hours that I work. So that's a given. You know, I'm going to be moving next year. That's a plan. Some things you have to plan, and other things you don't. And the things that I don't, I'm going to embrace the variables, shall we say. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Lesson number 4 I want to talk about is that self-discovery can be life-changing. And this is a huge one for me. So I was diagnosed this year with ADHD. I'd never explored it. I never even thought about it all my life. I just kind of adapted, even though, I struggled in school and stuff. And, there were times that I struggled a lot throughout my life. But, I just thought it was, the hand I was dealt, and I'm just going to move through life and just, it's going to be okay. And I still take that approach. But it was helpful to be diagnosed and to realize that that I had ADHD, and to look back in my childhood and realize that that would have been really helpful to me as a young child, especially to realize opportunities for help and growth that I could have had I known. Now, back in the day, we did not know that much about ADHD, right? It's, when I was a kid, come on, guys, we're talking 40 years ago plus, right? That just wasn't a thing. I mean, it existed. It just wasn't something that was well known and documented and researched enough to know it like we know it now. But my roommate had suggested to me that I might have ADHD, and I was like, oh, really? And he explained some mannerisms and different things that he'd seen in me, and I'm like, oh, I never even thought about it. But he gave me the phone number for his doctor, and I went in, and the doctor's like, oh yeah, you definitely have ADHD. I'm like, wow, okay. And after that, my partner was like, yeah, I kind of knew you had ADHD. I'm like, oh, okay. And my partner's a therapist, so that people in my life know, but they wanted to let me discover it for myself, and I appreciate that. But they tossed the hints, and I'm very thankful that he did that, and I'm very thankful that my partner was affirming of that. And my kids pretty much both have ADHD, and they're like, Dad, yeah, I'm not surprised. And I love it. So yeah, that was huge for me, and that really helped me to realize as well how I go about my creative process. And I'm on a low dose of medication, and it's really helped me focus and things like that. So it's been good. It's been good to have self-discovery. Part of that self-discovery, though, has been realizing through various different methods that I am also on the autism spectrum. And it's a good thing. It's just how you see the world. And I've taken some tests, and I've spoken with different other people, and especially some conversations with my partner. I'm like, oh my gosh, it hit me hard. So, and when I say on the spectrum, it definitely is a spectrum. It's just, everybody's at a different place on that, and everybody experiences neurodivergence in a different way. And so coming to terms with both elements of my neurodivergence, autism spectrum and the ADHD, has really helped open my mind to ways that I can self-adjust and function better in the world, whether it's my job, on my channel, things like that. It's been such a revelation and an eye-opening experience, and I'm very thankful for it. But it's also come with thinking back to things that happened in my life and ways that I've experienced the world all my life, and masking, as they call it, to hide parts of myself early in my life, and how over time I've learned to remove that mask and be my truest self. Like, what you see with me today on this channel is exactly what you're getting, because I've gotten rid of the mask. I've learned to not care so much about what other people think. It's still there. It still rears its head. But I've learned to ignore it and realize that I am who I am. I'm happy with who I am. I've had a wonderful life and I'm going to have a wonderful life. And knowing this gives me tools to help that be an even better, wonderful experience of that life. So that's a very long-winded explanation of the self-discovery that I have made over this last year. And one of the things that I'm really looking forward to in the new year that's going to inform my experience is a book called The Autistic's Guide to Self-Discovery by Saul Smith. And this is one of the books that I'm definitely going to get to in the new year. I didn't put it on my 2026 plans video because I wasn't really ready to talk about this yet. But this is a book that I definitely want to read. My partner recently read it and she absolutely loved it and highly recommended it. So I'm going to read it and hope that it, gives me some really good insight into myself and into neurodivergence in general, or neurospicy, as I sometimes like to say it. Neurospicy, neurosparkly, my partner says. So anyway, yeah. So that's a little bit about me and my personal revelations and, how that's impacted my life in 2025. So we're going to move on from that one, and we're going to talk briefly about grief. You guys know that I recently lost my cat, Ari. She was 14 years old. She's been on the channel numerous times, right? We had her for 4 years. We got her from another family, and they were not able to keep her, and they were giving away some of their furniture. And they asked us to come over and look and see if we wanted any of the furniture, and that's when I met Ari. She just walked right up to me and put her paws up on me and stuff, and just like super friendly and outgoing cat, right? And they're like, oh, she really loves you. Would you like to have her? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And so that was how she came into my life, and in our lives, my family's life. And so losing her was rough. She was at my bedside, and I had my hand on her, and I could tell when she had passed. And it was hard. That was hard. And I get very emotionally attached to my pets. So yeah, that was really hard to deal with at the time, and right around the holidays. And my partner had a really good statement that really stuck with me. And she said, grief never really goes away. You just grow around it. And that's so true. It's always there. It's always part of your life, but it's part of your growth. It's part of becoming who you are. The people and the pets that have shared your life, and the loss never totally goes away. It fades with time, but it never goes away. The memories don't fade, but the grief fades. So, yeah, that was one thing that really kind of hit me hard, learning to deal with the grief of my cat dying. And I've lost cats in the past, and I've lost family members. And so, it's all part of life. No one lives forever. No animal lives forever either. So just a reminder that, life is fleeting, and to embrace it while you have it, right? So I guess that was the lesson that I learned there. So we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about my next lesson, which is to control what you can control. And this was a big one for me, YouTube made a lot of changes to their algorithm, it seems, this year. You hear a lot of creators talk about it, views going down and, not getting the amount of subscribers or watch hours or different things, and, trying to figure out how to kick the algorithm into gear, and, trying to figure out catchy titles and all that stuff that goes along with YouTube, right? Looking at the analytics and stuff like that, and there's only so much that you can control. I can control my presentation. I can control what I say. I can control the books I talk about. I can control how I look on YouTube and, my background and all those little aesthetic things. But I can't control the algorithm, and I can't control what videos YouTube shows to different people. I can't control my numbers at all. I can't control what other people think of me. I can only control what I do to present my videos and things like that. And that applies to all things in life. You can only control what you actually influence. And I think that was a big reminder for me. I knew it, right? It's one thing to know it, it's another thing to actually embrace it. And I think that was a big one for me this year, just to let go and just not care anymore. Make the videos I like to make, talk with the people that comment on those videos, just enjoy the journey and let go of what I can't control. And so that was a big reminder for me this year. I've learned it several times in my life. I wouldn't call myself a control freak, but I do like a modicum of control. And so that was a good reminder. So all the changes that YouTube made this year, I'm just going to kind of roll with it and do what I want and see what happens. And if people subscribe and comment and like videos and do all the stuff, that's great. And if they don't, I'm still going to enjoy making my videos for as long as I can, and as long as I still enjoy the process. So the last one I'm going to talk about is the importance of flow, embracing flow in my life. There is a modern Eastern philosopher that I follow. He's an Australian fellow named Jason Gregory. And I'll link his channel in the description below because I think you should really check out his channel if you're interested in what I'm talking about. He talks about all different kinds of Eastern philosophy, but he really specializes in Taoism. And as I've mentioned on the channel before, Taoism is a big part of my life. I find great affinity in Taoist philosophy and mindset. And so I've been following him a lot. I've got a couple of his books that I might actually read next year that I've been wanting to read. One of them I read the audiobook for and realized, oh, I really should read this physically. So I've got a couple of his books that I want to read next year, but I'll leave a link to his channel. He recently released a video, which I will also leave a link to, and it's called The River of Tao. And it talks all about embracing flow in life. And that kind of goes along with my previous lesson of controlling what you can control and releasing the things that are out of your control. But it's just all about going with the ebbs and flows of life. There are going to be ebbs and flows, and we just kind of have to ride the boat, right? We have to let what will come, do our part to be active in it, and see where the world goes, see where the universe takes us. What happens will happen, and that's hard. It's hard to human and think with that mindset. Not just for other people, it's really hard for me too, guys. If you're looking at this and saying, oh yeah, I can't do that, you're not alone. It can be done, I promise you, but it's hard. It's a hard lesson to learn, and we're always learning it because there are so many stressors and so many things that we think are being done to us, in a sense. In reality, it's just life, kind of like a river, like in the video, the River of Tao. So I hope you will find value in that, like I found value in it, and check out some of his other videos if you are so inclined. I think he's really great. And I think he's got a new book coming out this year if it hasn't come out already, so I might be checking that out as well. But, I always kind of go back and, I watch a lot of videos around Taoist philosophy and Eastern philosophy. Alan Watts is another big one for me. I love Alan Watts. So I really find strength and encouragement and peace in that mindset when I'm willing to embrace it, right? So that does kind of go along with the controlling what you can control. Not allowing life to get me down, not allowing all the things that feel negative in life to weigh me down and take me away from what I find joy in. That's a constant lesson I'm learning. It's one I definitely learned in 2025, and part of that is embracing change. Things change. I've got a big move coming up next year, moving to Washington State. It's something I'm extremely excited about, starting a new chapter with my partner and moving to a new state, moving to a more accepting state, we'll put it that way. That's not the only reason, but that's part of it. So it's going to be a whole new world. But change is also hard. Change is difficult. Change is uncomfortable at times. And I feel the discomfort. But the joy and the excitement totally outweighs the discomfort. And I think that's true of any change, right? Any change has its negatives and positives, and we can choose which one to focus on. But we can't eliminate change. That's just kind of how it is. And that's another thing about embracing the flow of life, the flow of the universe, the flow of our connections with all humanity, if you want to put it that way. So, yeah. So those are some of the lessons I learned. I would love to hear from you in the comments what you think about some of the lessons I've talked about today. I'm by no means an authority on any of these. These are just my personal experiences, my personal thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you think, and let me know some of the lessons that you learned in 2025, some of your takeaways. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to chat with you. And, if you want to talk more, you can always hit me up on Discord. I'm on Instagram. I'm not super active on Instagram, but I do answer messages. There's a lot of ways you can contact me if you just want to talk one-on-one or whatever and chat. I'm always down for that, so I hope to hear from you in the comments below and elsewhere if you like to. And thank you so much for watching, guys. This has been overall an amazing year, and I'm looking forward to embracing some change in 2026. So I wish you all a happy new year, and I wish you all a happy year of new books to read in 2026. And until next time, remember, I love you. Take care.